Hi everyone, it's Coach Gino and Super Coach Ken back with another episode of the Getting Results Inc. podcast. How you doing today, Super Coach?
We're on point, Gino. Making a difference out there, keeping America safe for capitalism.
Fantastic. Coach, today is part 3 of the final episode of our 3-part series of Living by a Code. In part 1, we discussed the agreement of being impeccable with your word. In part 2, we reviewed be responsible for all your outcomes. Super Coach, today we're going to discuss our third agreement of the Getting Results Code, be coachable. Super Coach, let's discuss it. Being coachable.
Being coachable. So once fast review, do what you say you're going to do. Don't be a victim. Figure out. Agreement number 2, be responsible for all of your outcomes. Just as a reminder, everything is your fault. And since it's your fault, you have to figure it out. Use your brains. So the third agreement, be coachable. Now, what does that mean? Well, just like it sounds, be coachable. Just take it on. I could be totally wrong on this, but just simply take on for the process of coaching that you don't know everything. You're smart, but you're not that smart. So be coachable simply means is take on the lessons, take on the ideas. Even if you've heard them 100 times, take it on like you don't know. Like we teach a concept around segmenting your book and everybody's like, I've done this already. I know I have green, yellow, blue, A, B, C, platinum, diamond, sassafras, and all yeah, and I know that already, coach. I know that already, Ken. The bigger distinction is, do you? It's a funny thing about understanding things, where you can have an understanding of something, but rarely do you truly understand all aspects of anything.
It's also one thing to understand and know, but it's another thing to actually do it and execute it as well.
To do it, execute it, and then there's that deeper level too of just simply understand, just like segmenting a book. Okay, like what does that really mean? Well, I got my greens, I got my yellows, got my blues. I've done this already. Well, you haven't done it the way that we coach.
Right.
You haven't done it the way that we have helped people build multi-million-dollar practices about being in alignment with your clients. So it's a simple thing. Be coachable, right? Take on that you really don't know and that you're curious. Much like in Zen, since I'm honoring Zen in Japan today with my Godzilla shirt, if you can see Godzilla. But
Nice.
if you're honoring Zens and have a wonderful concept of a beginner's mind. So if we approach something as a beginner, that means everything's fresh, everything's new. Like if you've been in the business 10, 15, 20, 30 years, sometimes that's hard to maintain a beginner's mind of really looking at the business, because sometimes we get so set in our ways, we can forget that there's a myriad of opportunities, that we actually have many more choices than we believe.
Yeah, Coach, I think some people think they have eyes in the back of the head, but we don't, right? You can't see what you can't see, right? And
Correct.
that's the beauty of being coachable, is that, there are other things you can learn that you're not seeing, that's not right there in front of you, that, is of value to you. You just got to be open to it and understand that there's going to be other thoughts and ideas coming your way. Are you open to them? Are you going to let them wash all over you and try them on?
Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of funny, in our coaches call for the Getting Results coaches we speak each week, one of our coaches mentioned this distinction about the distinction between men and women in golf.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a fascinating thing in golf. What he was saying is that women pick up the coaching faster than the men. Now, I remember back in jujitsu, back in the day when I used to teach, there's a big difference between teaching women and men. Women were always much easier to teach, and they were actually scarier than men, because men would try to muscle it, or men would come with ego. Like ego would get in the way. And that was funny on the coaches call with females golfing. Like in 1 or 2 lessons, they would get it. A guy, same teacher, same lessons, would take 3, 4, or 5. So since many of our clients are male, this is a great reminder for all of you. Check the ego, be coachable, take on every experience as an opportunity to learn? Like, what are you learning from this? Even if you know it, what are you learning, or what could you be learning?
Yeah, there's a lot to that, right? Because when we think we know things, we shut off immediately. Like we
Oh,
don't
great point.
even
Yeah.
we don't even consider something like because oh no, I know this already, right? And unless you come from the aspect of being coachable, you're not going to see those little nuances that you didn't see before that could help make huge impact. Like we like to say, slight edges, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
being coachable is going to give you those slight edges.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a great point, because once you say you do know something, you shut off all of our other opportunities for learning. And as I said earlier, it's almost impossible to know everything about any particular concept, subject, person, client, estate plan, any of that stuff. It's almost impossible to know everything. But once you say, I know, there's no further opportunity to learn. Right? Just like all of us probably know how to drive a car, but could you drive a NASCAR at 215 miles an hour around a curve? I don't know. Right? Maybe there's a different skill set
I wouldn't
involved
get
in
in the
there.
car with you in that one.
Well, that'd be fun though. It'd be fun. Maybe we should
We
do that.
can't, something just came to mind with me in that too. It's that whole thing, and we did it on the coaches call. It's one of our podcasts, Tell the Truth, right? Is that when you're lying about things that everything, oh, I tried that already, or oh, it's the way I've always done it. It's the only way we know. It's the only way to get it done. Really? Are you sure about that? And again, that comes
Mhm.
back to be coachable because again, you could be missing out on just a slight edge just because you think you already know and you
Yeah,
keep telling yourself that it's already done. You know it.
yeah, fun story. One of my clients was interviewing at a firm, and that firm wanted to grow the business, and my client could have given them a lot of opportunity to grow that. But it's a funny thing. What they said was like, "Well, we can grow the business," and they've been in business 30 years. We can double the business, and now we're going to double business. We're not going to hire any consultants, any outside coaches. We're just going to do it ourselves. And then my client went into his Mr. Miyagi mode, and he said, if you truly knew how to double the business, wouldn't you have already doubled it?
That's
If you
good.
already know what you are doing and how to do it, why isn't it in existence?
I
And
love that.
so unfortunately that wasn't appreciated, but I appreciated him saying that and telling the truth, because if you truly know what you're doing, you'd already have it. It's just one of these things to wrap your head around.
Yep.
Humility, right?
Yep.
Humility, openness to learn, checking the ego, and simply practice, right? Take it on, like take it on and just explore. It doesn't mean you ever have to do it. You can simply explore. Like sometimes people resist the second agreement, be responsible for your outcomes, right? And I say, well, whether it's true or not is irrelevant. It's the belief that
That's right.
matters, right? If you believe it, it's the belief. Truth can be flexible. Not really, but let's just play in that realm. But with these simple three agreements, keeping your commitments, being responsible for your outcomes, and being coachable, they are the core foundation of developing a successful practice, of having a wonderful relationship with your family, right? And when you get in trouble, or when you notice yourself going sideways, or you're sliding or backpedaling, it's more than likely you violated either one, two, or all three of these
Mm,
agreements. And that's the first place to look if you are not accomplishing a certain goal, or there's friction somewhere in your existence. Once again, are you keeping your word? Okay? Are you being responsible for your outcomes? And are you being coachable?
yep.
Right? And especially if there's friction with staff, friction with wife, friction with your business partners, there's a good chance you're not being responsible for your outcomes, and you're not being coachable, and you're not keeping your commitments, or you're not clear, or you're not speaking. There's no clear communication between parties.
Yeah. The other thing I think about when I think about being coachable is life hurts a lot less when you're
Ooh.
coachable. Because when things happen and you take it from the perspective of the coach and you can gain from it and learn from it versus trying to resist or fight it or get mad at it, life is a lot more painful that way. So if you can
Mm.
take the pieces, those little of knowledge or things you learn from it, is a much more powerful way of taking life than to try to fight and resist stuff.
Beautiful, right? Take life as coaching. What a great concept. Because as Coach Gino was saying, it reduces friction. Because as life is not nice at times, business is not easy. Well, many times, like the hard truth, it's not easy to make a lot of money, people. It's just the hard truth. Okay? But if you take things on as coaching, you learn the lessons.
Yeah.
Then you're home.
Yeah, just simply, there's many things in life that I learned that before I was swallowing the poison and I expected the other person to die. And then
Ooh, good one. That's an old school quote.
yeah, when I got the perspective of, all right, what can I learn from that? What's the coaching in that? Instead of getting mad, and then the beauty is, even at a traffic stop, someone cuts you off at a red light and they go through the red light and you can give the finger and, give it every F-bomb you want. They're not thinking 1 second of it. And here you are seething on it. But then the coaching comes from, all right, well, I could look at it a different way and say, well, maybe they were in a rush because they had a baby in the back. They're trying to get to the hospital for an emergency, right? Like there could be more to instead of the story of how could they do this to me? I'm important. How could they cut me off, right? So I think, taking life as coaching really brings more calm to the being.
Then it is. Correct.
Yeah.
Great point. Because if you de-escalate the situation, it's better than escalating the situation.
No
Right?
doubt.
Somebody beeps their horn at you and you get angry about that. Hey, just take that step back and who cares if they beep the horn at you? Right? It's kind of like getting mad because the dog is barking. That's what dogs do. They bark.
Right.
Okay. So, and if you have dogs, we all get that. And sometimes it does get under your skin. But it's that distinction is if you escalate the situation, if you bring ego into the mix and you begin to protect or defend or get insulted or disrespected, more than likely we are not going to have a favorable ending.
Exactly.
Right? Or an ending that's going to support your design and be in alignment with what you're creating. Like a fist fight in the street or a road rage incident, more than likely is not in alignment with what you're creating. Or you flip out on staff or a client or your wife or your kid, more than likely not in alignment with what you are committed to creating. But then, like a jackass, you have to deal with the mess.
That's right. Ken, Tuesday, right? We have our 8 a.m. Connect, and I was late to my Connect. Why? Because when I went to go get my pound of coffee, when I was pulling into the lot, I got sideswiped by someone. And in the past, I would have went ballistic and went nuts. And when I got out of the car, the guy's, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He's like he was trying to overcompensate for the anger I was. I was like, "It's all right, just a car." But get your paperwork. Let's exchange it. I want to go get my coffee, and then we can both be on our way. Right? I took the coaching and it was that, he was probably in a rush. Maybe I was rushing. I don't know. But, I'm just going to take it. It's just property. No one got injured. No one got hurt. Move on.
Or even better coaching, have your coffee mailed on a regular basis so you never go to that store again. Every month it's a monthly delivery.
There you go. Or do it like I normally do. My wife picks it up after I order because she goes for the dog walk and she just goes by there anyways. Why did I have to go rush out and get it? Right? So there was some coaching in that. So I learned from that. So yeah, there's so many different options that I could do in the future. And believe me, I am going to take advantage of those other options in the future going forward. Take the coaching.
Problem, simple solution. Yeah, take the coaching. I keep getting caught in traffic. Stop going that way.
Or at that time.
Right.
Oh, God. And, when you think about it, it's just so many simple things. But Super Coach, so what's an assignment or something we can have people practice on this just so that they can bring this more into awareness and get some benefit by it?
That's a good question. I guess it's that idea of getting back to a beginner's mind, right? Catch yourself when you are saying either to yourself or others, I know that. I know that. I know that already.
Yeah.
I know that. Stop telling me that. I know that. Like my daughter has a tendency to say that to my wife, because my wife is very disciplined in her doing homework. And my daughter will be like, I know that, Mom. I know that. And the distinction is, Lauren, my wife says, well, did you do it yet? Okay. And it's that if you haven't done it yet, doesn't mean you really know it. So just notice your own self. I know that. I know that concept, and be open to take on opportunity as coaching, like even the mundane stuff, emails piling up, or you get interrupted by a client or staff, or an appointment not goes sideways, an appointment blows you off, right? Like that's a great opportunity. Like if an appointment blows you off, instead of getting angry at the client or angry at whoever, take it as coaching. Like, how did that happen? Like, why did you let that happen? And remember, in agreement number 2, you're responsible for all of your outcomes. So if an appointment doesn't show up, that's your fault, or a 1035 disappears somewhere in the insurance company, or there's a 40-minute hold on the insurance line, and you're getting steamy because you have to wait 40 minutes. Take the coaching. Okay.
Yep.
It's your fault that you're on that phone for 40 minutes. Right? Really, I mean, all of this stuff is to get you to think, right? As the Buddha said, that one finger points out, there are 3 more pointing back at you. And you are the root and the cause of all suffering and your discontentedness. If you can dial that in, you live a life more of freedom and prosperity and keep your attention on the things that actually really matter, which is your design.
Amen. Amen. Awesome stuff, Super Coach. Hey, any last words of advice or wisdom before we let our listeners go and we close out the session here?
I think a good word of advice is read my book called The Journey, Evolution of a Financial Advisor. Visit our YouTube channel. Gino's doing a great job in putting stuff together. I mean, we're trying to be a lighthouse here, trying to serve the community. Interact with us. If you do, we can literally change your world for the better forever. Be coachable.
Awesome, Coach. And be coachable. By the way, I'll put a link to the book so to make it easy for any listeners, if they want to check out The Journey, go take you right to Amazon for that. Good
Awesome
stuff. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast and got value of it, please be sure to share and follow our podcast. Hit the like button and give us a rating. We can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and of course, gettingresultsinc.com. Tune in next week for our next episode. Be great.